As we headed out of Damascus on our journey north to the ancient Christian towns of Syria and Maaloula, where people still speak the ancient Aramaic language, very close it's said to Jesus' tongue, the severe jolts the country has received evident in partially destroyed buildings. The Syrian government fully regained control of all of the capital Damascus from Daesh, the so-called Islamic State, other terrorist groups and rebels only in May this year. As we exited the city, we picked up speed while passing the brown, dusty, desert-like landscape dotted with a few green trees. Mining was evident as we moved through the countryside. Also checkpoints every few kilometers where we had to lower our cameras. We were also not allowed to film in the vicinity of the Syria military prison about 30 kilometers from Damascus.
Many have been taken to Syria, a notorious and terrifying prison where detainees are incarcerated in horrific conditions.
In February last year, Amnesty International estimated between 5,000 and 13,000 people were executed without trial between September 2011 and December 2015.
Black hole of which no recent images exist.
The US State Department has accused the government of building a crematorium to hide evidence of mass murders. The Bashar al-Assad government denies all accusations, saying terrorists are housed in the jail complex. While many truths remain hidden, we were determined to use the government-granted visa and hospitality within the country to witness many truths that are open but not part of the normal narrative of Syria.
Itself as an instrument in its perpetration.
We were accompanied by Tehsir Asadi, our guide, to the city of Syria, 1500 meters above sea level. He's been taking tourists around the country for 3 decades, but has been unemployed since the crisis started in 2011. While a bus with a curious chimney, narrow streets and small town traffic slowed our progress, finally peeling off and resuming our climb, we caught our first glimpse of the Convent of Our Lady of Syria. It rises like a fortress above the town on the slopes of Mount Kalamun and is considered by many to be the second place of religious importance for Eastern Orthodox Christians after Jerusalem. 2 modern symmetrical staircases zigzag upward, forming a pattern of 3 ascending rhombus-shaped diamonds. As we climbed up, Asadi told us one of the traditional stories.
Those steps here from 1960, and it said that the head of the monastery told one of the pilgrims to bring her oil from Jerusalem.
The miraculous oil is believed to heal the sick, irrespective of religion, and chronicles from the 11th century talk about sultans believing in it, as well as 13th century reports of the Templar Knights also coming here to collect it for their churches in Europe.
He left it up. He saw like something like light coming from here, and then something like icon appeared to him.
At the top of the staircase is the convent wall, whose entrance door is only a meter high to force pilgrims to bow in reverence. A winding rock passage, reinforced with masonry walls, gradually goes up to a small interior courtyard. At the entrance to the main attraction, the Shagura, an icon to the Virgin Mary, attributed to have been painted by Saint Luke himself, is another icon depicting the reason for the construction of the convent. More on these pictures, speaking 1,000 words in a bit. One takes off shoes like in mosques, but not in churches, before entering the arched door of the Shagura, which means illustrious or the source. The chapel is low, narrow and dark, lit only by candles and oil lanterns. Its walls are covered with old icons, many from the 5th century. Most covered in soot from centuries of candles being lit. Hidden away is the priceless treasure of the icon of the Virgin. It said St. Luke painted it from memory. Gold and silver chains of the hand of Mary, Hamza, or Fatima, depending on your religion, are seen here. The symbol, said to predate Judaism, Christianity and Islam, is believed to ward off evil and grant fertility. The church was built during the Byzantine period between the 4th and 6th centuries. With white limestone walls and marble floors, the ceiling is covered with blue plaster, with crystal hanging lamps and candles adding to its beauty. In the courtyard, we found a group of youngsters playing dum charades. Even we weren't sure what he's pointing upwards to or what his moves meant. Perhaps a door to the stairway to heaven. If not heaven, Asadi led us to the top of the convent for a bird's eye view of its commanding height. It's here, as video journalist Pratik Suri sets a time-lapse shot, that he recounts the icon we have seen and the story of Justinian I, Emperor of Byzantine, who while crossing Syria with his troops came to this desert, and soon his army was parched for water. While despairing, he saw a gazelle and gave chase until it stopped at a spring. One of the interpretations of the name Sednaya is hunting place. While the emperor prepared to shoot, it transformed into a brilliant light, and he heard a voice commanding him to build a church at the spot. The Holy Virgin later appeared in another vision with a plan to build the convent after his architects had failed. It's just after 10:45 in the morning, and as the wind picks up, our driver, Ammar, insists that we should leave as we have much more to see and hear. We then set out to Maaloula, which means entrance in Aramaic, 56 kilometers northeast of Damascus. After several stops at checkpoints, we passed a damaged monument of the Syrian coat of arms with the Arab tribe Quraysh hawk holding the national flag. We entered through the crumbling, hollowed cutout like Maaloula gate, the damage indicating just what was to come. Maaloula is built into the rugged mountainside at a height of 1500 meters and is reputed to have caves where humans lived 300,000 years ago. It's one of only 3 remaining villages that still speaks a version of Aramaic that is linked to the tongue spoken at the time of Jesus Christ. That heaven was turned into hell briefly. As we continued the winding climb, Asadi reminded us that the area was a battlefield for over a year in 2013-14, when terrorist groups including the Al-Qaeda linked Al-Nusra Front fought the Syrian army and Hezbollah.
See, it's still 4 stars. See, now hotel. No hotel. It was a nice hotel here. Yeah. Okay.
The stars clearly did not favor the Al Safir Hotel during the fighting. Terrorist groups took control of the entire town from this base's commanding height. Christians fled the area. Those that didn't were persecuted and even killed. The Eastern Catholic monastery of St. Sergius and Bacchus has now been mostly restored after it was looted, burnt, and virtually destroyed. Except for the rushing wind, we looked in silence, trying to imagine the horrors that were committed here. The desolation perhaps making it one of the oldest surviving monasteries in the world. It was built on the site of a pagan temple and has elements that go back to the 5th and 6th century Byzantine period. Saint Sarkis is the Assyrian name for Sergius, a Roman soldier who was executed for his Christian beliefs. A sign in French, Italian, German and English from times when pilgrims and tourists from those countries came in numbers. From light to darkness to light again. Our guide Asadi, a devout Muslim, was beside himself in joy at the restoration that has been done post the cultural terrorism.
The altar broken and it's destroyed. This is the first time I see it. And Sergius and Papas. He banished them and he drew one of them on the Hudson until dying, and he ordered the second one to walk on nails until dying or before dying. First one was this one because it was prepared, I told you, to be like pagan with carving here, sculpture, but now it's used for the churches. You see, for their they used to do like something small gutter for the blood of the sacrificed animals and so. And maybe you are now the first tourist because I'm asking her, do you have tourists coming now? She said, why are you coming alone? So why are you here? I said, I have tourists. She said, really? Tourist? I'm from India, You are the first tourist visiting. You will be famous.
Asadi returned here after 7 years too, and his relief was understandable, considering the damage done. A unique 13th century icon was lost, the iconostasis destroyed, the altar turned into a pile of rubble. The wall paintings were shot down and slashed, the walls themselves brought down by mortar shells and heavy explosives used by both sides. Now it has been lovingly restored with the original stones being cast in masonry, 2,000-year-old wooden beams back in the roof, and many of the icons recovered from looters or copies having been made. One of the caretakers, Rita Wahhabi, who has returned, gave us a rendition of a prayer in Aramaic as it would have been in the times of Jesus Christ.
يثكن تجبع عيلي اخمل بشمو خط على رعا أبلاح لحمح أخو اليومح وغفر ليحتي يوضح أخمن غفرتي مقطع مينح ولو فشتخل النح بتشغر بيوثا بس حصل الناح مشيدا آمين.
Her voice resonating in ancient acoustic settings in a message, as a local put it, of how Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic Front couldn't cut off Jesus' tongue. In September, the traditional festival of the cross celebrations are also a reminder of what terrorism couldn't take away. This Syrian Tourism Ministry promo capturing the celebration of the finding of the cross 1700 years ago. The celebration is represented by lighting fires on top of mountains from Jerusalem to Constantinople. Maaloula is said to be the only place in the world where this custom continues. Maaloula, Aramaic for entrance, also gets its name from another legend of Saint Thecla. Said to have studied with Saint Paul, she fled her pagan father's soldiers from what is now Turkey because her parents were persecuting her for her Christian beliefs. She came to a mountain which split open after her prayer, allowing her to escape. We were one of the few tourists along with some devotees, a local father and his kids, to walk this narrow canyon with rose-colored rocks rising 100 feet above this footpath. Climbing the steps of the Convent of Saint Thecla, Asadi offered us a peep back into time. In 2014, a terrorist and rebel coalition led by the Al-Qaeda affiliate Jabhat al-Nusra kidnapped 12 nuns from this Greek Orthodox monastery. 2 months later, with the help of Lebanese intermediaries, they were released in a prisoner swap and reported ransom deal. The monastery itself has been restored after it was destroyed, and the tomb, which is said to have had Saint Thecla's remains, reduced to ruins by explosives.
So they were kidnapped and then negotiation and they came back. I remember I watched حرضوه على التلفزيون وقتها. I watched that on the TV.
The mediators were from Lebanon.
Some of these priceless icons have found their way back after being smuggled out to Lebanon. The rapid history lesson covering nearly 2,000 years in 24 hours was like a rock hitting our head as we went downhill back to Damascus. We left through the Maaloula gate with shells of houses marking the terror from the recent past, giving way to homes that have been undamaged or reconstructed. But the jolt is even stronger on the outskirts of the Syrian capital. Ghost enclaves of homes, their facades seemingly torn away as if a giant marauded his way through, stamping out multi-storied residences and mangling steel and concrete. These are the infamous Ghouta and Douma suburbs of Damascus, or what's left of them. A 5-year blockade and fight for these areas saw the Syrian army, backed by Iran and Hezbollah, recapturing these pockets in April this year. Reported chemical attacks were also used to dislodge rebel and terrorist groups. A narrative the government's backers say was fabricated to allow Western military intervention.
We don't have no chemical things. It's a fabricated.
While Asadi and Amar discussed what they've heard about recent events, Pratik and I were silent in thoughts. Thoughts that were broken only when we returned to our hotel, the Damas Rose, to find a Western classical quartet playing for diners at the open-air restaurant. It was a piece called Bratya, Brothers in Russian, composed by Michiro Oshima for the Full Metal Alchemist Japanese manga comic animated series. If anything could get more surreal than what we experienced so far in Syria, the lyrics of the original song, roughly translated from Russian, go like this. But what should we do? How should we be? How to fix everything to forget? It's forbidden to try to return one taken by the earth.